is far less about youthful features and far more about visible vitality. What many women instinctively respond to is not the absence of age, but the presence of life. Vitality shows itself in small, immediate signals: alert eyes that engage rather than drift, a face that responds to the moment, and movement that carries intention instead of hesitation. These cues communicate something deeper than appearance. They reveal whether a man is still participating fully in life. Women who have lived through decades of experiences tend to read energy before aesthetics. They notice whether a man seems curious about the world or withdrawn from it. A lively expression suggests openness and emotional availability, while a dull or fatigued demeanor can suggest disengagement. This perception forms quickly, often before a single word is spoken. Vitality is also expressed through presence and movement. Purposeful walking, measured gestures, and balanced posture communicate physical awareness and inner steadiness. These qualities do not require athleticism, they require attentiveness to one's own body and environment. When movement reflects intention, it signals self-respect and resilience, two traits that become increasingly attractive with maturity. Importantly, vitality is not about pretending to be younger. It is about demonstrating that growth, interest, and engagement have not stopped. A man who continues to learn, adapt, and care for himself naturally expresses this through his physical presence. His body language conveys that he is still evolving rather than retreating. This understanding reshapes how attractiveness is perceived later in life. The focus shifts from trying to preserve what time changes to cultivating what time cannot diminish: awareness, composure, and enthusiasm for living. When these qualities are visible, age becomes context rather than limitation. In essence, vitality signals readiness to connect, to contribute, and to experience life fully. And that readiness is what women most often notice first. It is not youth that draws attention, it is the unmistakable impression that a man remains vividly alive. The human body communicates attitude long before words have a chance to shape perception. After 60, this silent communication becomes even more powerful because experience has refined how people interpret physical cues. Posture, grooming, and overall physical care are not merely aesthetic choices, they are visible expressions of self-respect and inner discipline. When a man stands upright with relaxed but stable shoulders, he conveys more than physical alignment. He signals personal responsibility and emotional steadiness. Upright posture suggests he still carries purpose and direction, while a collapsed posture can unintentionally suggest resignation or disengagement. Women often read posture as a reflection of how a man approaches challenges, whether he meets life directly or withdraws from it. Grooming also carries psychological meaning. Clean, well-maintained appearance does not communicate vanity, it communicates intention. It shows that a man values himself enough to care for the details of daily living. This attention to self-care often translates into perceptions of reliability, discipline, and emotional maturity. In contrast, neglect of physical presentation can signal indifference not only toward appearance, but toward life itself. Movement further reinforces these impressions. Deliberate gestures, calm pacing, and controlled physical expression reflect inner organization. They suggest that a man is comfortable within himself and capable of navigating situations without urgency or insecurity. Such composure becomes increasingly attractive because it represents stability in a world that often feels unpredictable. What makes these signals particularly influential is their authenticity. The body does not convincingly perform what the mind does not support. When physical care is rooted in genuine self-respect, it appears natural and effortless. This authenticity is often what women respond to most strongly, the alignment between inner mindset and outward expression. Ultimately, the body becomes a visible record of personal standards. It reflects habits, priorities, and the degree to which a man continues to invest in his own well-being. Over time, discipline shapes presence, and presence shapes perception. In this way, physical self-care is not about appearance alone. It is a form of communication that says, without words, I value who I am and how I live. Physical observation is only the starting point of perception. Interpretation is what gives it meaning. Women often respond not simply to how something looks, but to what it suggests about a man's inner world. The body becomes a set of signals that communicate psychological qualities such as emotional balance, responsibility, and confidence. Hands, for example, are rarely noticed for their form alone. They are read for steadiness, care, and intention. Calm, purposeful movement suggests patience and control, while restless or tense motion can imply agitation or uncertainty. Without a word being spoken, hands can communicate how a man approaches challenges, connection, and responsibility. Facial expression carries even deeper significance. Over time, the face reflects habitual emotions. A relaxed, attentive expression often signals openness and acceptance, while chronic tension may suggest unresolved stress or defensiveness. Women tend to perceive these expressions as indicators of emotional availability. The face becomes less about age and more about attitude toward life itself. Eye contact also operates on a psychological level. Direct but comfortable eye contact conveys presence and sincerity. It suggests a willingness to engage rather than avoid. In contrast, unfocused or withdrawn attention can be interpreted as disinterest or lack of confidence. What is seen physically is translated into assumptions about awareness and engagement. Posture and movement further contribute to this interpretation process. Balanced posture and measured motion imply inner organization and composure. They suggest that a man is grounded and secure in himself. These physical cues are often perceived as signs of leadership and reliability because they reflect stability under pressure. This process happens quickly and often unconsciously. The mind seeks coherence between what is seen and what is inferred. When physical signals align with qualities such as calmness, intention, and self-assurance, perception becomes favorable. When they do not, uncertainty arises regardless of outward appearance. Understanding this dynamic shifts attention from surface features to meaningful expression. Physical presence becomes a language through which character is perceived. In this sense, the body does not simply display age or form, it communicates mindset, habits, and emotional orientation. What is noticed externally becomes significant because of what it represents internally, transforming appearance into a reflection of character rather than a measure of attractiveness alone. Presence is not a single trait, but a synthesis of awareness, composure, and purposeful energy expressed through the body. It is the impression created when a man is fully engaged with himself and his environment. Women often notice this quality immediately because it shapes how a man occupies space, responds to situations, directs attention. At its core, presence reflects inner alignment. When thoughts, emotions, and actions move in harmony, the body expresses calm certainty. Movements become deliberate rather than hurried, gestures become measured rather than excessive, and stillness becomes comfortable rather than uneasy. This physical composure signals emotional stability, a quality that grows increasingly meaningful with age. Presence is also communicated through attentiveness. A man who listens fully, maintains relaxed awareness, and responds thoughtfully conveys respect and confidence simultaneously. His focus is not scattered, it is intentional. This quality suggests reliability because it demonstrates control over attention, one of the most valuable forms of personal discipline. Equally important is ease within one's own identity. When a man is comfortable with who he is, his body no longer seeks approval through tension or performance. His posture remains natural, his expression remains composed, and his movements carry quiet assurance. This comfort is often perceived as dignity, a sense of self-worth that does not require validation. Women frequently interpret presence as strength expressed without force. It is not loudness or dominance, but steadiness. It communicates that a man is grounded enough to remain calm, attentive enough to notice details, and confident enough to exist without constant assertion. This combination creates a sense of safety and reliability that is deeply attractive. Presence also reveals purpose. Even in simple actions, standing, walking, pausing, intention becomes visible. Purposeful movement suggests direction in life, while aimless motion can suggest uncertainty. The body thus becomes an outward expression of inner clarity. Ultimately, presence is magnetic because it represents integration. It shows that experience has been absorbed rather than resisted, and that maturity has produced awareness rather than withdrawal. When awareness, composure, and purpose are expressed together, physical appearance becomes secondary. What stands out is the unmistakable impression of a man who is fully grounded in himself and fully engaged with life. Taken together, these ideas point to a simple but powerful truth. What is noticed externally is guided by what is cultivated internally. Vitality, discipline, meaningful expression, and presence are not isolated qualities. They are interconnected reflections of how a man relates to himself and to life. After 60, attraction is shaped less by physical perfection and more by visible engagement, emotional steadiness, and self-respect expressed through the body. When energy remains active, posture remains intentional, expressions remain composed, and attention remains focused, the body communicates a message that requires no explanation. It signals continued growth, resilience, and awareness. These signals do not demand attention, they naturally draw it because they reflect stability and purpose. Developed through experience. Aging, therefore, does not diminish the capacity to be noticed, it refines the way a man is perceived. The focus shifts from appearance to presence, from form to meaning, from youth to depth. What becomes compelling is not the absence of time's influence, but the evidence that time has strengthened character rather than reduced it. Ultimately, physical presence becomes a living expression of personal standards and inner orientation. When a man remains engaged, composed, and purposeful, he communicates dignity without effort. And dignity expressed through authentic presence remains one of the most enduring and noticeable qualities at any stage of life.